I've always wanted to love Dark Souls. I like so many of the ideas, but the Souls-like combat and gameplay structure is just something I don't find enjoyable. Nioh is the closest I've ever come to enjoying a Souls-like, and with Sekiro being a Souls-like in another Japanese setting with what looked like a much quicker gameplay pace, I thought that it might finally be the game that gets me into the genre. But how much has actually changed, and how much soul is in this Souls-like? Let's take a look. Now obviously I can't infer what the full game is going to be like. I was only able to play a slice of the game and some areas were restricted from gameplay capture. What I can say though is that, despite a more responsive and slightly quicker battle system, Sekiro still feels like Dark Souls. I'm not quite sure how to explain it, but all Souls-like games have this similar feel. The structure of the gameplay, the way you engage enemies and how they respond, the atmosphere and the general flow, it is all distinctly Souls-like in Sekiro. When it was first announced, I, along with many people, wondered why Activision was publishing it. From Software have had a very good relationship with Bandai Namco, and it seemed weird that the new big game from Software would be published by a big AAA Western company like Activision. After playing a bit though, I think I've grasped the situation. Dark Souls and Demon Souls before it have had modest budgets at best. Dark Souls is good and has a big following despite its middling graphics and the sacrifices a developer makes for the better of the game when they are handed a limited budget. Even Bloodborne with the backing of Sony felt like a great but mid-budget title. Sekiro though is very much a big budget game with big budget AAA production values. What I think happened was Activision noticed the buzz surrounding Dark Souls and wanted a piece of that action. Thankfully though, other than the graphics being top notch and Sekiro being open world, there doesn't seem to be any Activision meddling. It feels like a proper From Software game, and may end up being the best Souls-like ever released due in part to the AAA publisher backing and the Sengoku Japan setting. One of the biggest problems with Dark Souls and Souls-like games in general, for me personally, is that the slow, deliberate combat just feels unresponsive. It's kind of like the game is taking place in a world where the air is as thick as custard. Combine that with the punishing gameplay loop that means you will absolutely die many times, and it's just something I've never really been able to get into. Sekiro certainly feels quicker and more responsive on the combat front while still maintaining a need for strategy and timing. It's still a very deliberate and focused system. You'll need to time parries and dodges and weave in attacks when you can. There is also a secondary weapon system where they all use the same resource. The axe will allow you to break enemy shields, while the flamethrower, well, sets enemies on fire. There's also some throwing stars. They all use the same resource though, so if you come by a camp and see some big guys holding shields, you probably aren't going to want to run in flamethrowers blazing. You'll need those charges for the axe. The gameplay loop is basically unchanged from Souls. You will die and you will learn how to take enemies down a little more with each death. There is also a focus on stealth kills. It is definitely advantageous to take out some of the smaller guys from the shadows before taking on the big baddies. As I already alluded to earlier in the video, the game looks phenomenal. The detail and graphical fidelity is top notch, and some of the little sequences that play when you kill an enemy are just brutal. The game world certainly sets an atmosphere, and while the graphical power could be put into prettier landscapes, it wouldn't really mesh with what the game is going for. It looks really damn good given the art style and setting they're shooting for. At the end of the day, Sekiro sadly won't be the Souls-like to finally get me into Souls-likes, but this isn't the fault of Sekiro. It is actually the closest I've come to enjoying the experience since Nioh. I do, however, see how good the game actually is for fans of this budding subgenre. I said it earlier and I'll say it again, it just might be the best Souls-like game ever made. We'll just have to wait and see how the full game stacks up on release.
Thanks for the liking, subscribing, and the sharing!
And I'll see you all soon.